Welcome, welcome. We are doing chapter 12 tonight on our book, Girl, Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. And this chapter is titled, The Lie, I Need to Make Myself Smaller. So one of the biggest questions that I have for you guys is, who are you really? Are you living to your full potential? Are you muting yourself because you're afraid of what others might think? Are you muting yourself because you're afraid of what your family might think? Are you muting yourself because you're afraid of what your neighbor might think? I think oftentimes we live in fear because we tend to focus so much on what other people think about us that we aren't living our potential. We aren't living our dreams. We aren't living to the fullest that we can. I don't believe for a second that we've been put on this earth to live through somebody else and do what they say that we should do. We should be able to have the power to do and live and accomplish any dreams and goals that we set for ourselves, right? So I wanted to read this part here because this was an epic part of the chapter for me. Have you spent a lifetime muting yourself for fear of what others might think? Are you an entrepreneur who calls your business a hobby because you worry about what your mother-in-law will say, or because it's safer to keep everyone's expectations low? Are you hesitating to go back to school because you think you're not smart enough? Do you stop yourself from daring to try something new because you're already positive that you're going to fail? Do you remain silent when you have so much to say? Do you believe that you'll never do better or be better than you are right now because of your family origin? Do you hesitate to admit your dreams out loud because you're nervous about others making fun of you or judging you by your choice? I know I can relate to that. I've lived in fear most of my adult life. And that was because I was so afraid what everybody was going to think if I actually did the things that I wanted to do and be the person who I wanted to be. And finally, it wasn't until about 2, maybe 3 years ago that I said enough was enough. It is time to live my life. I can't get those days back before, or those years back for that matter. But what I can do is I can learn from them. I can embrace them. I can use them as a guideline. I can use them as a lesson. I can use them as a blessing, depending on how you look at things. But I can live each day from from here on out to the fullest, however that may be. And it can be anything you want it to be. So another thing that she really talked about is how she's teaching her daughter that, growing up and coming into the workforce and just being, being a part of society. It's really challenging when you're raising kids, right? So I'm going to read Rachel's page here, 132, because this whole page, I'm telling you guys, this was like, bam, I have 2 daughters, and so I definitely can relate to this. And I have spent at least their teenage years teaching them a lot of what Rachel's talking about here. I will not tell her that a man's work is only out in the world or that a woman's work is only inside the home. If she chooses to stay at home, then we will support her with all of our hearts, but we will never teach her that there's only one kind of woman to be. This is important because her brothers were told by society that their options are endless, and she will be shown by media that her world is limited. That was like bam for me. The other thing I wanted to point out is I believe that you are not a mistake, and feeling guilt about who you are, working, staying at home, overweight, underweight, overeducated, undereducated, emotional, bookish, street smart, or whatever, does a disservice to yourself and the Creator who made you. There are hundreds of ways to lose yourself, but the easiest of them all is refusing to acknowledge who you truly are in the first place. You were not made to be small. You are not a little girl. You are a grown woman, and it is time you grew up. Take your wings and fly, guys. You guys have to live the life that you guys are meant to live, each and every single one of you. So some of the things that she reminds us at the end of the chapter is that helped her was a willingness to offend. And not the offensive, you're going to tell a bunch of like bad jokes or be rude to somebody, but more let you embrace the idea that not everyone that you come across will approve of you or even, acknowledge that what you're doing is right. Because who knows? I mean, what you think maybe is right is totally fine, but it may not be right for the next person next to you. And that's okay too. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. The next thing is a bold statement. Be who you want to be. Decide who you want to be. Period. An encounter with a guru. And what she means by that is, if you are lacking in an area that you want to know more in, research it, read some books, listen to some podcasts, watch a YouTube video. There's tons of resources out there. I mean, if you're old school, you still have an encyclopedia set, break that sucker out and see what you can find, right? So that covered chapter 12. Tomorrow is Friday, so we're going to cover chapter 13, and the lie is, I'm going to marry Matt Damon. We'll have to see what that chapter is all about, right? So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.